Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the JM Touchdown Show, where we bring you the second episode. My name is Shea of Fanatics Sports, and joining me today is Mike Kennedy of MikeKennedyNFL.
What's up, guys? Last week, we talked about the big moves of the NFL free agency, and it's kind of slowed down a bit, but a big one dropped yesterday, Joe, and that's the Tyreek Hill trade to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
He was traded for a 2022 first, second, and fourth, and a 2023 fourth and sixth. And then the Dolphins also handed him out a big contract. What are your initial takeaways from this deal?
Big win for the Dolphins. Big loss in a way for the Chiefs. Well, yes, they got their picks. The first round pick is number 29.
29.
And I couldn't tell you the second round pick off the top of my head, so my apologies for that. But I like it a lot for the Dolphins because he mixes well with Jalen Waddle. They're both that's the fastest receiving duo we may have ever seen, honestly. And I think he fits the McDaniel offense very well. Yeah? Did I mess?
Mike McDaniel?
Mike McDaniel. Yeah. Okay. I got confused with Josh McDaniel for a second. That's in a video on my own channel. You guys will see soon. So I like him in the McDaniel offense because we've seen him with the 49ers, all the Debo stuff they do. I feel like Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill can do that stuff very similarly. And for the money, yeah, it's a lot. 72 of it is guaranteed of the 120, which is a lot of money. But for a receiver like Tyreek, who's only 28, he'll be done this contract will be done when he's 32. That's around like the end of a wide receiver's prime, just about like 32, 33, I would say. Well, really depending on the health, but have we really seen Tyreek get any injuries? No, I don't think so, right?
Just nicked up here.
Yeah, like the game or two. But the one thing I have that I want to ask you about. Look, the Dolphins are my second favorite team, which I know is weird because I'm a Pats fan, but we've already talked about that with my Jarvis Landry fandom. That's why. Tua Tagovailoa. What are your thoughts with Tua and Tyreek?
So I think, that tweet that went around like last week that the guy said Trevor Lawrence has no excuses not to perform now because of all the weapons around him. That was obviously kind of ludicrous.
Yeah.
But I think it actually works here for Tua because they improved the offensive line, which we'll get to later. They added Tyreek Hill, they added Cedric Wilson, and another.
They still have Devontae Parker.
Right. So they have solid pieces all around him. And this is
And a good receiving running back in Chase Edmonds.
Him too. A lot of people are saying it's not going to work because Tua's arm strength, which sure, I get that. But Tyreek Hill is not only a deep threat receiver. He's great underneath. Him and Waddle are two of the greatest yak catches in the NFL. So the horizontal game, which also Mike McDaniel, as you mentioned, is great at that system. They could take any pass 80 yards. So even if Tua isn't throwing these bombs, he's super accurate underneath and they have loads of weapons. And also when Tua was at Alabama, he was one of the best deep ball throws in the SEC and in the conference. I think he led the SEC in deep passing yards in 2018, and he was third in the entire Power Five. And that's because he had a lot of speed outside, which he also does now. So it's
he's played with Waddle before as well.
Exactly. And also, if you compare him to Joe Burrow, obviously Joe Burrow is better, but a lot of things said about Joe Burrow was that he doesn't have the arm strength to fire down the field. But then he got Jamar Chase, and he's a great receiver.
Yeah.
And we saw how that worked out. So maybe, adding a great receiver can help him stretch the field a little bit more.
Look, and I think his arm strength is overhated. Obviously, he doesn't have the strongest arm or a top 10 arm in the league. But everyone just makes it seem like he has an absolute noodle arm, which he doesn't. I mean, he can't get the best velocity on the deep throws. I'll admit that. Really, he doesn't have the best velocity on many throws. But like we said, he's accurate. You just point out that he was one of the best deep ball throwers in college, and that's because he had speed. And Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, like I said before, fastest duo I've seen my entire fandom of the NFL, especially the Dolphins. Like Jarvis Landry ran like a 4.8.
Devontae Mike Wallace for a year.
Yeah, well, whatever. Mike Wallace is Mike Wallace. All right, but
listen, I don't take Mike Wallace slander. He was my favorite player back in the
really.
day.
That makes sense. He was really good with the Steelers, but yeah, it's just this is new for the Dolphins. Everything. I mean, Flores is gone. Obviously, we have McDaniel now, who's a great offensive coach, in my opinion. We'll see how that works out. Plus, I like how he talks. When he does interviews, it seems like he knows how to answer the right questions and not answer the right questions as well, if you know what I mean. like which ones to give a complete answer to and which ones to kind of deflect.
Right.
So I kind of like him as like that sort of coach. And then on the field, we've seen him, coaching the 49ers offense with Raheem Mostert as well, which they signed. So I think the speed is just going to be unmatched for any team. And I'm scared for the Patriots and the Bills, honestly.
Let's take a look at it from the Chiefs' point of view. Yeah. How do you think they'll go both this year and years in the future? Because I'm kind of torn. I keep going back and forth with this trade on there.
What I'm thinking about is the draft, right? So obviously they brought in Juju and they brought back Josh Gordon, which, I mean, as talented as Josh Gordon was/is, he's nothing in the NFL anymore. And I feel bad to say that, but especially with the loosened rules on that substance that I don't know if I can really talk about on YouTube without like the algorithm messing it up. But with that,
they also just signed Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah, I was just about to get into that. So Marquez, I think they overpaid for him personally. I mean, dude, what's his career high in receiving yards? Like 600? I don't. It might be like 800, but you know what I mean.
Right.
It's something like that. It's not great. Not 10 million worth per year for 3 years. I don't know how much of it is guaranteed. My guess is somewhere in the 15s to 20s. But
you were pretty close. At 690 was MVS's career high in 2020.
Really? Exactly. He's not worth that money. I mean, I get you have a need at the position now, but you can always sit down the draft. This is a loaded receiver class. Very good. Like, I would trade up and try and get a receiver. But then you think about that. And then you also have other positional needs. Like, yeah, you signed Justin Reed. You need another safety. You want who's not good at football? Daniel Sorensen. Corner need. You lost Tre'Davious Ward. Edge rusher, no. They have Frank Clark and they have Chris Jones on the inside. I think they're fine in that, but they have defensive needs they need to hit. Their offensive line is fine. Obviously, they have Travis Kelce. But Juju, as much as I like Juju as a player, he's not a number one. His role in his career is to be the dominant number 2 receiver. Not with Ben Roethlisberger on his final leg, number 2 receiver, but like Patrick Mahomes, number 2 receiver. So I think they need to hit wide receiver either in the first or second round. I mean, they do have 2 back-to-back picks in the first round. So that's what I would say. I would say like receiver and like defensive back for them. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, they have to take a receiver because the Marquez Valdez-Scantling signing, that was like the worst kept secret in the league. They were thinking about signing him even before the Tyreek Hill trade, and then they lost Tyreek Hill, and obviously
and now
they had
he's
to get him.
Valuable to them, like 10 million a year valuable.
Like, he is a very limited receiver. He's a good deep threat. He'll probably make some splash plays with Mahomes, but they need an actual complete
They need
receiver.
Someone opposite of Juju to actually be able to make plays consistently rather than the occasional deep ball.
Exactly. And I like the Juju signing because I was like, okay, the Chiefs finally have a solid number 2 receiver.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
never had.
But this trade is really just like the culmination of poor roster management by the Chiefs. The whole Frank Clark trade, that was a disaster in the contract. They overpaid for Chris Jones, great player, but it was still an overpay. They overpaid for the offensive line last year after the disaster in the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And like now that's hurting their other positions. And Tyreek Hill is a game-changing player. It's not just that he's a great receiver.
He's game-changing.
Perfect for this
you
offense.
have to game plan around him.
And it's like he's like Steph Curry in the NBA with just the gravity that he draws because of who he is. And so now they kind of shot themselves in their own foot.
Yeah.
So in the first round of the draft, they're down at 29. Now at least they have a lot of ammo if they want to trade up for a receiver. There's Drake London, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson. They're probably all going to be gone by then. They might have a shot at Treylon Burks or Sky Moore.
I think they will. I think one of them will be available by then.
They should get at least one of them. I wouldn't hate if they took 2 receivers early in the draft.
Like a first and second round?
Yeah. But like in the long term, this might be a good thing for the Chiefs because you don't want to, with a great young quarterback, you don't want to get tied down to these huge contracts. And he was, from what I've heard in Kansas City, Tyreek Hill was going to leave at some point.
Yeah.
So it's better to get something for him now rather than he just leaves for free.
Yeah.
It's just right now they're a much worse team on paper. And with how the rest of the AFC is stacking up, it's
and their division.
It's hard to picture them doing a whole lot right now.
They could realistically, they could finish fourth in the AFC West. They could. I don't think they will. I think that'll be, call me crazy. I think that'll be the Broncos personally. But one thing I want to talk about with that, for my final point, is the Mahomes contract is biting them now. That is exactly what's happening. Because yes, he's Patrick Mahomes, but 10 years, 500 million. It's like that is what's screwing you right now. Like, you do not let him go. You do not trade him. You do not offer him that extension, but you have to understand the repercussions that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think the deal in itself is kind of a steal compared to the other quarterbacks getting signed right now.
Yeah.
But because it's such a long thing that they're tied to, it's kind of hard to work around in that respect.
Exactly. And speaking of quarterbacks, there's been some other quarterback movement that we should definitely get to, and potential quarterback movement. So obviously Matt Ryan was recently traded from his longtime team, the Atlanta Falcons, to the Indianapolis Colts for a 3rd-round pick. Personally, I love this trade for the Colts. He's the perfect quarterback for that. A veteran quarterback who knows exactly how to win, although they haven't been winning the past couple of years and they choke a lot, but whatever. He really is just perfect for the Colts system. I mean, great offensive line, decent receiver core, even though they just lost Zach Pascal, whatever. And Jack Doyle retired, but I mean, he was more of a blocking 10 anyways. But overall, what do you think of this trade? I'm going to give it I'm going to give it an A- for the value and for what the Colts get.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to give it a solid A. People who know me know I'm a big Matt Ryan fan. One of my first YouTube videos that blew up was saying Matt Ryan was a Hall of Famer. When the Colts were in the market for a quarterback, a lot of people were pointing towards Baker Mayfield. And I, from the jump, was saying they should go after Matt Ryan. And this was before it was even known that Matt Ryan kind of wanted out. Because I looked at it like this. Matt Ryan is to Phillip Rivers as Baker Mayfield was to Carson Wentz for the Colts. He's a solid veteran. He might not have the high end potential of those two young guys, but he's always going to keep you in the game. And sure, he's dropped off in like the past 2 or so years, but the whole thing in Atlanta was just a joke. They really had nothing.
It wasn't his fault.
They were legitimately one of the worst teams in the NFL last year, but they won a lot of close games because they had a solid quarterback. Like, I think they were 32nd in DVOA for probably 15 weeks in the season, and then somebody passed them at the very end.
Really?
So they're probably going to be at the very bottom of the NFL this year. But like you said, for the Colts, if they don't make the playoffs, I think it'll be a disappointment. They should be competing with the Titans for the AFC South crown.
I mean, I think I've been saying this since last offseason. The Colts, no matter who the quarterback is, well, not no matter who, are better than the Titans. I think they're a better team. We can get more into that in a little if you want. I just want to finish this part. But I think they're a better team than the Titans because they're more complete. The Titans, I mean, they have, Derrick Henry, AJ Brown. Ryan Tannehill's not good in my opinion. He was top 10. No, all right. He was top 10 to 12 last season, not like 2021, the season before that. However, I just don't think that he has like the exact things you want in a franchise quarterback. You know what I mean? He's not bad, but he's not good, in my opinion. He's that bridge quarterback that I think the Titans should have for another year or two, and then try and find someone younger. Hell, I wouldn't hate if it's going to sound dumb. I wouldn't hate if Baker Mayfield went to the Titans. It makes no sense at all, right? But I wouldn't hate it. It's another run-heavy offense with a better wide receiver one than the Browns had. Well, I mean, Odell was, that guy, but whatever. I think he would fit very well in the Titans, but that's just a thought I just came up with as I was speaking, honestly.
I wouldn't hate it, but I think as a player, as a prospect, Baker Mayfield is firmly in that same tier as Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins. And like you said, I've long been a Ryan Tannehill defender. I don't think he's great, but I think he's good. And I think just over the past 3 seasons, at least, Tannehill's been better than Mayfield. Maybe Mayfield has higher potential, but I don't think it would be so great that you'd want to get rid of like a valuable prospect or to get him. But like last year, the Titans, it's hard to take a lot away from them and Tannehill as well
Yeah, a
because
lot
of
of
how
injuries.
injured the team was.
Yeah.
Like he
I
had
agree.
one of the
I agree with
best.
you completely on that. I'm just saying, like personally, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but from
You're
a
good.
skill standpoint, I don't think Ryan Tannehill is a franchise quarterback. That was my point.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think he's a good quarterback who can have a run, maybe to get you, like they went to the AFC Championship in 2019, but I don't think he's going to personally elevate a team to a Super Bowl by himself.
Yeah,
but I think the Titans, when healthy, they can be considered a complete team.
Yeah,
so I wouldn't hate running it back because they were so injured last year. They were still the 1 seed. He had one of the best PFF grades in the league, even though his stats suffered because of all the injuries. In the 2 years before, he was one of the most efficient quarterbacks, not only in the NFL, but in NFL history.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't hate Tannehill. Obviously, he was the Dolphins quarterback, so I liked him. And I still liked him with the Titans. It's just, obviously, there was the injuries to everyone on the team, literally everyone. But I agree with you that they are a complete team when fully healthy. But back to the original point, I think that Matt Ryan and the Colts are better than Ryan Tannehill and the Titans. I think they will finish first in the division, potentially.
I think it'll be just like 2020 when Phillip Rivers was with the Colts. It just came down to that last game. They were neck and neck the entire season.
Yeah.
It's just really depending on who's healthy or who gets the right matchup, in my opinion.
And speaking, as I brought up the Titans and Baker Mayfield, what do you think is going to go? What do you think is going to happen with Baker? What do you think he's going to be traded for? Where?
I'm really lost at this point because so many of the positions are getting filled up. Like, who else could need a quarterback? Maybe Seattle, maybe Carolina, but we don't know.
Oh, definitely Carolina.
We don't know what those teams' plans are.
There's also the draft.
Exactly. So, like, he's definitely not staying in Cleveland, but like, what else is out there? Is he going to have to sit a year as a backup somewhere? Maybe.
I couldn't tell you. I genuinely have no idea. I have no idea what the plan is for Baker Mayfield with the NFL, not just the Browns, like his plan in the NFL. I don't know what his future is because I think he's a starter in the league. I genuinely think that. It's just I don't think there's enough teams right now that need a quarterback that want to take a flyer on Baker Mayfield, who has the personality that sometimes can bother people, but he's talented. I mean, obviously last year he didn't have the best year, but we all know he was injured the whole year. I mean, obviously there was some things that were his fault, but you could tell with every single play that he was not the same as he was the year before because of injuries. But one thing I can't gauge, obviously there's what team he'll go to. If anything, I think it'll be Seattle, but I also can see them drafting Malik Willis. But I don't know what he would be traded for. Like a 3rd round pick? Second, the Browns are going to want more than he's actually worth.
I think like if he was traded at the beginning of the offseason, he would definitely fetch that. Like Carson Wentz got 2/3. I think I'd rather have Mayfield than Wentz, or at least it's debatable. Yeah, but now since so many, I know you're a Carson Wentz stan, we get it. But since so many positions have been filled, like there's not going to be a lot of competition to get him. So he could maybe 4th. I don't know. Like it all depends on how many people are vying for his services.
A first overall pick for a 4th?
The Browns might just be.
They might have to.
They might have to hold on to him and hope something happens in preseason. I don't know.
I couldn't give you any sort of legit final conclusion with Baker Mayfield this offseason.
And like, it's crazy because say a decade ago, so many teams were just looking for a quarterback that could be a viable starter. And now a decade ago,
the run game was more important than it is now. And Baker Mayfield is meant for a running team. We all know this. Him off play action when healthy. He's one of the better quarterbacks at play action in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Top 10. Yeah. Ish. I don't have the numbers up, but I mean, the numbers are great, especially in that 2020 season when they went to the playoffs. So 10 years ago, Baker Mayfield would be one of the most valuable assets right now.
And now there are just more starting caliber quarterbacks than there are starting quarterback positions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a good thing for the league in general that there's better quarterback play, but it's unfortunate for a guy like Baker who might not be able to
know
find
what
a
I just
spot.
thought of? You know how you just said, sorry to cut you off there, but you know how you said there's more starting quarterbacks than there are positions? The USFL and the XFL next year. That could be.
He's got the personality for it.
Yeah, we could see like Dwayne Haskins. I'm not saying he's a starting caliber quarterback, but we could see like Dwayne Haskins going to one of those. Let's see Ben DiNucci go to one. I want to see those types of guys go to those types of leagues.
I mean, maybe it could be like the 80s when like a lot of these like Jim Kelly and Warren Moon played in these other leagues, built up their value and
came back.
I mean, it's a long shot based
Kurt
on how
Warner in the Arena League. He was an MVP.
MVP in his first season.
Yeah. Wow.
Who's to say?
That's crazy to think about. But basically, my final thought on Baker is I think he goes to Seattle or nowhere until the start of the season. Like preseason-ish, I mean. Because Carolina, I could see it, but don't they have like the 8th pick?
Yeah.
They could just get Malik Willis.
I think
Malik Willis is a better prospect than Kenny Pickett, personally. But they could get Malik Willis at 8. What pick does Seattle have? Somewhere. Well, they traded their pick to the Jets. What did they get from the Broncos?
Let's see. Seattle has 9. Carolina is 6.
Yeah, so I mean, Seattle could go Kenny Pickett, but I don't think you reach on Pickett at 9. I don't think you reach on a quarterback in the top 10 in this draft, but you have one of those two teams has to.
Yeah, I personally think Seattle should just take this as a tanking year since it's such a they have a poor roster and they don't have. They should just go cheap and get Baker because they're a poor roster and they're not.
Next year's quarterback class will be better.
This is a poor QB class. Like,
and help,
they're not.
You don't even need. Maybe you don't even need to bank on next quarterback class. Maybe Baker will be the guy in Seattle.
Worth taking a shot.
And then
Rashad
Penny and Chris Carson will be a duo to watch next year because we also know Rashad Penny played at the end of the year. He was great. I mean, we all thought he was going to be a bust. Well, he was a bust.
I think he still is, but
he might.
He's a lot better than what we should.
I thought
they should have just cut him a while ago, and now he's a solid piece.
I think they should get rid of Chris Carson due to the money and just try it out with Rashad Penny, especially because their team is terrible. Just try it out. So, do they still have Dwayne Brown?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean they have some offensive linemen. And obviously, Seattle's been known to not have a good offensive line, but. They could just try it out with Rashad Penny and Baker Mayfield. I think that's something to experiment with. Do you?
Yeah, Dwayne Brown is currently a free agent.
Oh, really?
Actually, yeah.
Never mind then. Their offensive line is most likely not good. Still, my point stands. I think they should try it out with Baker Mayfield and Rashad Penny for a year. See how it all goes. I think cutting Chris Carson's the best move for them.
I think they should acquire Baker Mayfield because I do not want to watch Drew Lock play any more football.
I don't either. Oh my God. I used to love Drew Lock. His rookie year, I loved him. I knew he wasn't going to be as good as everyone thought, but I still loved watching him because it reminded me of that Jimmy Garoppolo 49ers thing. And I like Jimmy because, he's the most beautiful man in the NFL, almost in all sports, but Kelly Oubre has that. Hell, even Gordon Hayward might be above him, but we'll get in. That's not for now. I don't want to talk about that on the podcast. But
how about this take? I would rather watch Kendall Hinton start at quarterback than Drew Lock.
For like comedic reasons?
Yes.
Okay, then yeah.
Because you're already going to be bad,
Yeah. Okay.
And I just like picking on Drew Lock. So.
Yeah. No, but that's funny. I actually kind of that. Yeah, I agree with you on that because that'd be really funny to watch. Imagine Kendall Hinton for a full season. That'd be awesome, honestly. But I kind of want to transition now because we both know what Baker is. We both know what he'll probably go for. We know where he might go. We both agree with that. I want to transition to our next topic, which is our favorite low-key signing of free agency. You can start off with this.
So the first one for me that came to mind instantly when we thought of this discussion was Juju Smith-Schuster because It was just a 1 year, $10-ish million deal, but only $3 million, I think, was guaranteed. The Chiefs.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's a really, really cheap deal. The Chiefs have long needed a solid number 2 receiver opposite Tyreek Hill. But now, since we mentioned earlier, Hill's gone. So I'm a huge Juju defender, but it's clear he's not a number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
But he's a lot better than what people say, but he's not
I completely agree with you.
So they definitely need to draft someone, or I think they should even go after Odell Beckham, even though we know he's not going to be healthy for the start of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Odell's been toying with every team on Twitter. I love it. It's entertaining as hell.
But since that happened, I'll go another route for some under the radar signings. We still don't know what the quarterback position is. There's been no news whatsoever, but I really liked what Carolina has done elsewhere on the roster this offseason. They're building a solid all-around roster. We know they had one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL last year. When they played Miami, they got absolutely destroyed. It was one of the worst offensive line performances I've ever seen. But they signed center Bradley Bozeman from the Ravens, who I think he was a top 10-ish quarterback or center from Pro Football Focus last season. And check this, it was just a 1 year, $2.8 million deal. And only $1 million of it was guaranteed. Matt Paradis and Pat Elflein, they had them at center last year. They were both terrible. And then they also signed Austin Corbett from the Rams, 3 years, $29.25 million. It's a bit more expensive, but it's a solid signing. And
wait, 3 years, what was it?
29.25.
Okay.
And their guards, John Miller and Michael Jordan, they were also terrible last year.
Dave MJ?
Not that one, but yes, they have him. They could move Pat Elflein out from center to the other guard spot. And with the offensive line, you really I think the correct method to building one is acquire a lot of good pieces rather than going after one elite piece, because one weak leak on an offensive line can really ruin
the whole unit.
And so even if you have like a Penny Sewell, if the rest of your offensive line is terrible, it won't matter. That's why I thought the Bengals should have drafted Jamar Chase last year. And also another move that the Panthers did, they acquired safety Xavier Woods, just 3 years, $15 million. They needed a safety opposite Jeremy Chin because they had like 3 guys rotating in and out last year. It's another really cheap deal. So even though they're probably almost definitely not going to be a good team last year because currently Sam Darnold is still the quarterback, I like what they've done elsewhere.
Yeah. I love all the group signings or the grouped signings that you just did. I think the Panthers are going to be terrible, but those pieces will really help out. I mean, obviously on Bozeman, it's only for a year, right? But I mean, maybe Bozeman gets more money after that. Maybe he stays with the Panthers. It's still a good signing because helps out McCaffrey, Hubbard, whoever in God's name the quarterback's going to be. It's probably going to be Darnold, which is terrible. But so I have 2 of my favorite low-key signings. I'm going to start off with a hometown favorite, Malcolm Butler for the New England Patriots. 2 years, $9 million. It's pretty obvious why I love this. He won us the Super Bowl in 2014. It's not even that. He might not be the best corner for the Patriots like he used to be. Because
wasn't that also your first NFL game?
That was also my first NFL game with Super Bowl 49. And that was the best way. That was the best way for me to be introduced into football, was watching that and then watching Malcolm Butler. The Jermaine Curse catch happened on him, right?
I think it was him.
Yeah. So, and then going to the goal line interception, which we later find out that he was getting beat in that in practice because they knew they ran it a lot. Seattle ran that play a lot in the goal line. And then Browner was like, hey, you got to do this. And then he did in the Super Bowl. Best way to be introduced to football, I think there is imaginable. That, or if you got into it in the 28-3 year. I'm talking about as a Pats fan, obviously, but so I love that just because it's more of like a culture signing, because like everyone in New England loves Malcolm Butler. Obviously, there was a thing in the Super Bowl, 52 Eagles Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's 52.
Where something happened beforehand. I forget what it was. It was like a practice thing or something like that, where Belichick benched him except for special teams, and that screwed us because Nick Foles dotted us up. I mean, it would have been great to have our number 1 corner out there, but no, we didn't. And I hate Bill Belichick for that. I love you, Bill Belichick. I hate you for that decision because we could have won a Super Bowl if you didn't care about him doing whatever he did. I forget what it was, but I love that signing just because it's like a hometown favorite. Whether he's the best corner or not, I don't care. I love that signing.
The poor Patriots without that one Super Bowl. You must feel so
It hurts.
horrible.
It hurts. But secondly, this one is actually like a more football related one than the Malcolm Butler one. Raheem Mostert to the Dolphins. I love that because I believe he used to play for the Dolphins, like when he was like a practice squad, barely in the league guy. And it was cheap. It was 1 year, $3.125 million. Now we know Mostert. We know what he's there for. He's an explosive running back with a bunch of speed. Obviously, he's had some injuries, but he's back with Mike McDaniel, who's with the 49ers, like Mostert was, where Mostert had the most success of his career.
49ers East.
Basically. But I love this signing because he really brings a lot of dynamic to this Dolphins running game that they never had before. Obviously, they now have Chase Edmonds, but he's more of a receiving back. We all know that. Okay, I mean, he does break off some big runs, but then we have Myles Gaskin, who I hate how Myles Gaskin plays football. He's the most boring running back to watch. I don't even want to get into it. I hate Myles Gaskin, how he plays football. But Raheem Mostert brings that explosive dynamic that Miami hasn't had since Jay Ajayi, who wasn't even fast, Lamar Miller, that sort of thing. I think he's really going to help out this run game. I think that's going to help out Tua a lot, obviously, because the run game helps out the quarterback, goes hand in hand. And then lastly is another Dolphin signing, Conor Williams. Solid offensive lineman signing. I mean, it's nothing like special, but I mean, he's a starting guard who will help you out a lot. And Dolphins have need that.
And he's still just 25 years old,
Yeah.
Former second-round pick. I think he only got like $7 million guaranteed over 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's a really cheap, high potential signing. And you didn't even mention Teron Armstead, who they signed. And it's a really solid deal. He's one of the best tackles in the NFL. And based on the money, I think he's around like, if you take out incentives, like the 18th highest tackle, somewhere in that range. If you take out incentives.
Where do you think he ranks amongst tackles?
Easily top 10.
Yeah, 100%. But do you think any higher?
Maybe top 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say because who do you got top 5? Like, Trent Williams number 1.
Williams, Tyron Smith.
Yeah.
Andrew Whitworth retired.
Trent, no. He's somewhere in the top like 10, but
right. He's in the range, so I really like both of those offensive line signings. The Dolphins are easily some of the winners of this offseason.
Playoffs?
I can't go that far because of the AFC is,
but
they should be in the mix at the very least.
Gotcha.
But also I really liked, it's not really too under the radar, but the Bengals, another team, Panthers, Dolphins, and the Bengals all vastly improved their offensive lines, which needed it. Added Lyle Collins, Alex Kappa, Ted Karras. And like I said earlier, it's better to get multiple solid pieces than one great piece on the offensive line. So Jackson Carman is really the only iffy spot on the offensive line right now. And they can probably address that in the draft.
Yeah.
But the last under the radar additions I wanted to touch on was Tennessee, who we mentioned earlier. Obviously, they let go of Julio Jones. That was a failed experiment. He couldn't stay healthy. Didn't really produce when he was healthy. So they went and traded for Robert Woods for just a 6th-round pick. And he got injured last year, but for just a 6th-round pick, like it's worth taking a shot. And if he's healthy, he's a great fit for that system. He's always a solid number 2 receiver. They already have A.J. Brown. And also, they lost Jonnu Smith, the tight end, last year, and they didn't really have anybody last year. They had Jeff Swain was their starting tight end. He started all 16 games, but he was mostly a blocking tight end. And Austin Ferkser led all tight ends with 291 receiving yards. Both of those tight ends were under 10 yards per catch. So they signed Austin Hooper to a 1-year, $6 million deal.
Wait, when did they do that?
I missed it too, actually. I saw it on the free agency tracker. I was like, wait, that happened? But yeah, they signed Austin Hooper to a 1-year, $6 million deal. Pretty good receiving tight end and another weapon.
When did that happen? I'm perplexed right now. When did that happen? I'm sorry to cut off your whole point. I'm just like,
when did this happen? It says how a Tennessee Titans practice squad player persuaded Austin Hooper to come to Nashville. Huh.
what,
Kevin
Will Compton?
Hogan. Kevin Hogan was his college quarterback and close friend at Stanford. He convinced Austin Hooper. That was a Yahoo Sports article.
All right, well, whatever. That's insane. Then I mean, he's not like an insane tight end anymore, but it's still a very good signing that I didn't even know happened. So good for them. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Breaking news here on the podcast.
And is that all you got for
Yep, I think I'm on. You got anybody else?
No, no, but I want to talk about some other low key things, and that's the position of quarterback, but not quarterback, backup quarterback. I want to give you my top 5 backup quarterbacks, but I want to do it. I say one, you say one.
All right.
I'm going to start off at number 5. I'm going to say number 5 is Tyler Huntley.
My number 5 is Nick Foles.
That's fair. So I picked Tyler Huntley mostly because of the scheme fit in Baltimore. Obviously, he's very similar. Like running type of quarterback. I mean, so that fits the Baltimore Ravens system very well. He's not the best thrower, but he can throw the ball well ish. But I mean, I just think with how he fits in that system, it automatically makes him top 5 because if Lamar goes out, he fills in. I mean, the whole team was injured last year, so I can't really fault him for maybe not winning a lot of games, but he did his job at times. So I think he's number 5. And you have Nick Foles?
Yeah, Nick Foles, he's a bad starting quarterback. We've seen this in St. Louis. We've seen it in Jacksonville. We've seen it in Chicago.
Just not in the Super Bowl.
But if you need somebody to come off the bench for a couple games.
That happened to be in the playoffs.
There's something inside this man that makes him play like an all-pro quarterback.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
The one game against Seattle last year for the Bears, and the Seahawks were still in the playoff race, and he came out and torched them. It's like there's just something about Nick Foles. He has to be not only one of the best backup quarterbacks in the NFL right now, but probably of all time. But I'll go with my number 4, Tyler Huntley. It's pretty much what you said. We saw it in limited action last year. He very nearly beat the Packers. I think come a year from now, some team looking for a starting quarterback might trade, especially if Lamar misses more time and he starts and plays well again. Somebody is going to give up something for him sometime down the line, even with how we mentioned earlier that quarterbacks are everywhere these days.
Yeah.
Who's your number 4?
I have Tyrod Taylor. We've seen how Tyrod's been his whole career. He's a starter. Oh, wait, gets hurt. Bam, Baker Mayfield. Bam, Justin Herbert. But now and Davis Mills as well. But now he's finally in a spot where he's accepted the role as the full-on backup. And we've seen him in starting action where he's played well for the Bills in the past. I mean, he had times with the Texans last year prior to injury. He actually played really well prior to injury. And the Chargers, I mean, he only played a game, but I think they won that game. Week 1?
Yeah, they beat the Bengals on the road.
Yeah. I mean, he can win you games sometimes. And I think him on the Giants is a good fit because he can show Daniel Jones kind of like how to be more of a quarterback, because Daniel Jones at times has had his moments. Basically on a skill level, I mean, there might be some better, more skilled backup quarterbacks, but I think his veteran presence and all that really brings him up, in my opinion.
I'm not going to say anything because he may be higher up on my list.
And number 3, I have, as of right now, he's the backup for this team, Taylor Heineke. He played a whole season as a starter last year. I mean, obviously things didn't go well in Washington, and he clearly wasn't the answer because they traded for Carson Wentz, who might not also be the answer no matter how big of a fan I am of Carson Wentz as a player. But I did not make a video saying Carson Wentz would be the MVP of the year. He threw 15 interceptions. I swear to God,
Definitely
that didn't happen. That didn't happen.
I would have remembered if that happened.
Yeah, no, I would have too. There won't be a card at this point in the YouTube video. Actually, I don't think I can do that from another channel, but whatever. Yeah, so Heineke, he's talented. He's mobile. He can run around. He can throw a little bit, but not, we've seen it at times where he had his inaccurate moments. But I think he's definitely a top 3 skilled backup. He can fill in for a couple games where you won't be upset. Probably you might not be happy, but you won't be like upset if he has to fill in. I really don't really have much to say about him, honestly. He's really just like an overall average quarterback that, hey, maybe he could start for a tanking team. I think he's better than Sam Darnold. I think he's better than Drew Lock, but yeah, that's.
I at least appreciate Heineke because he's entertaining and he's always willing to take a risk. He's not like some of these other safe backups who just are trying.
Or even just safe starters.
Exactly. I actually had Heineke as my 5th quarterback, but then I remembered Nick Foles, who he's currently 6th. We saw him very nearly beat Tampa Bay in the playoffs 2 years ago. But I'll get to my number 3, and that's
wait, can I ask a question first? Sorry. Did you say safe quarterbacks?
Yes.
You're not going to like my top 2. Keep going.
I mean, just because I may prefer entertaining quarterbacks, that doesn't mean there might be some safe quarterbacks that are better because same. But my number 3 is Case Keenum. He was with the Browns. He recently got traded to the Bills. Yeah. The Bills, they traded for him and re-signed Matt Barkley. I don't really know what they're doing there. But another one, Case Keenum, like we saw, he came off the bench in Houston. He played well. He came off the bench in St. Louis, played well for a bit. And then obviously what he did in Minnesota when he was given a starting role with Denver and with the Rams wasn't very pretty. But he's another one who he's not afraid to take risks. Yeah. So I appreciate that.
For your number 2?
Number 2, you mentioned him, Tyrod, however you want to say it. You pretty much hit on all the points. He's a strange case because he's simultaneously very safe, but also very risky.
Dangerous, yeah.
Like, I think he had one of the highest turnover-worthy play rates in the NFL last year. But when you watch him, it seems like he's dinking and dumping, but he's actually throws the ball down the field quite a bit. But I'm just glad that now he's in a position where he's signed as the backup and not the starter in front of a young quarterback like with Davis Mills and Baker Mayfield, Justin Herbert. Maybe if
Nathan Peterman.
Let's not talk about that. But maybe if Daniel Jones struggles, he can come in. Yeah. But
give him some snaps, give him a game or 2, maybe.
His place is as a backup who can come in for a couple games.
Exactly.
How about you?
For my number 2. So we're gonna get into this next. Not him specifically, but why I have very weird favorite players in the NFL. Oh, no. I love this man. I love the guys who are in the media, not like divas like Baker, but I love the guys who are very popular in the media. And at number 2, I have Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew, as we know, has a very weak arm, but when he comes in sometimes, like with Jacksonville, he played well. I think he could have started on a team. I think the Colts could have gone for him. Do I think he would have been a good starter? No, that's why he's a backup. I see you doing that, but I'm still going to finish my point. He's very accurate underneath at times. He can win you a game, potentially. Dude, he was on the Jaguars. That is not his fault. That is not his fault at all. When he went to Eagles and played that one game, he made Dallas Goedert look like the best tight end in the league that game.
Remind me who they played again.
I don't remember.
It was the Jets.
The Jets beat the Bengals and the Titans, didn't they?
But they were terrible.
The Jets beat the Bengals and Titans.
Those are outliers.
So basically you're saying is the Eagles beat the Jets beat the Titans. So Eagles are better than the Titans and the Bengals.
The Jets had the worst defense in the NFL last year. Anybody could light them up. They were high scoring games that the Bengals and the Titans when they beat them, but anybody could. We saw what the Colts did to them on that Thursday night game.
I don't care.
I know.
I want Gardner Minshew at my number 2 spot. He's staying there forever. So, I also got to remember, stop moving because the light in the back. Sorry if that blinds anyone watching, but going back to my actual conversation. Like I said, Gardner, he's my number 2 because he's skilled. All right. He is skilled. He's not insanely skilled, but he's a skilled quarterback that could start a couple games for you, win you a couple, say like go 2-2 if you start 4 games. My opinion, because he doesn't have the deep arm, but you game plan with your offense game plans for that. That's what they did in Jacksonville. I mean, DJ Chark had his best season of his career under Gardner Minshew. James
Robinson.
Wait, but was that Gardner's? Were they rookies together?
No, Robinson was
the year after, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then Gardner was hurt that year. So disregard what I was going to say about that. I had to think about that for a sec. Yeah. I mean, Chark had the best year of his career. Dallas Goedert had the best game of his life, which, yeah, you could say, oh, they were playing the Jets still. I mean, he still put up, what did he put up? Like 3 touchdowns, 100 and something?
Something like that.
Yeah. But still, I mean, it's the Jets, but it's hard to do that against any team. Never mind, like, no matter the defense, I mean, but Gardner obviously isn't the best quarterback, nor is he the best starting caliber quarterback, even top 32 probably. Well, I mean, I think he's better than Drew Lock, and I think he's better than the Seahawks and Panthers quarterbacks, Drew Lock and Sam Darnold. But
a lot of these guys are. But yeah, for any of the audio listeners out there, I was face palming for a solid 2 minutes of that segment. But it's kind of a running bit with me that I dislike Gardner Minshew on Twitter. But that's mostly.
I've actually never seen that.
I mean,
you haven't talked about it recently?
Yeah, he's not something I like to talk about unless he's in the news, which he hasn't been recently. But yeah, it's mostly just due to the hype around him because he's a character, Yeah,
I love those
the outfits and whatnot. But like he's 8th on my list. Like I don't hate him. He's one of the better backups in the league. I don't think he should have ever been considered for a starting role, which a lot of people thought. There were people saying that they should trade the number 1 pick and trade down so they could.
All right. Speaking of that, I made a video. It's called the Gardner Minshew story, End of Tank for Trevor. But
that was
I made that video as a joke just because I love Gardner Minshew and I just wanted to talk about him in a video just for fun.
Clickbait.
Oh, completely. I mean, I love my story videos, as we all know, and that was a good one. And I put End of Tank for Trevor just so people are like, whoa. But I'm gonna go into my number 1 now.
I think we probably have the same guy based on how our lists have shaken out. Otherwise, I'll be shocked. Let's hear it.
I have Teddy Bridgewater. Oh my God, crazy. Yeah, it's Teddy Bridgewater. We all know what he is. He could start a whole season. I mean, he'll go like 7-9. But like, or 8, 10. Or he'll go 7-10 or 8-9, or like maybe he'll go over 500. But he's nothing special. I mean, when he was with the Vikings, he was really good for them, in my opinion. I mean, but ever since the injuries that he had, when he came back, first off, that was miraculous. Yeah, good word, Joe. Vocab. I just think he's just a solid quarterback. He could start. I think he's top 32 right now. But yeah, there's really not much to say. It's Teddy Bridgewater. There's not much to say about him. Never has been.
Right. Yeah, he's just like the most basic quarterback there is, which isn't a bad thing. It's just we all know what he is. Like we went through the whole experiment. Is he a starter? He got hurt, came back. Oh, let's try him as a starter. Yeah. He's not a starter, but
not anymore.
The best backup you can get, and I think he's the perfect fit for Miami behind Tua. Like we saw when he was with New Orleans, he's the perfect guy to come in, like for a complete team. I think he went 5-0 with them.
Speaking of New Orleans,
I made a note to mention somebody.
I want to talk. I'm gonna completely cut you off now, and I'm sorry if that's rude.
Let's hear.
Do you want to get into the honorable mentions?
I want to hear what you have to say about this Saint.
We talk about New Orleans quarterbacks. Okay. I want to bring up Jabu Winston versus Marcus Mariota. Same division. Gonna play 2 times a year. Like I said earlier, I have weird favorite players. My non-Patriots favorite players. Jarvis Landry 1, Jameis Winston 2, Carson Wentz 3. Jameis Winston, I made a video about this right after he was not re-signed by the Buccaneers. So like a couple years ago at this point. I said he was a franchise quarterback. I still believe he has potential to be one. Is he right now? No. Could he be one? Yes. We all know how talented Jameis is. We saw him be very efficient last year with the Saints. Yes, he didn't have a lot of yards, but he was very efficient in touchdown to interception ratio, which is a first for him. But you also have to remember he had the eye surgery and stuff. That is not something to joke about. Like, well, I mean, like, yeah, you make jokes about it, like him being the first 30-30. But I mean, like, when I say that, means you actually have to think about that in a serious manner because you don't understand. He couldn't see, he saw like a stop sign 3 times or whatever it was, or he couldn't read a stop sign. He genuinely could not see and was the first overall pick in the draft. I think that shows how talented his arm strength and all that is. Yes, he has horrible decisions at times, but sometimes they work out and sometimes they don't. And guess what? Michael Thomas is coming back next year. Jameis Winston and Michael Thomas, it's going to be insane. I think he'll throw for more efficient yards because we all know he had like 5 touchdowns in a game with 150 yards the week 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just, I don't know what Sean Payton, like the game plan was, but it worked, I guess. Well, no, clearly it worked. They won that game. They could have made the playoffs. If he didn't get hurt, they could have made the playoffs.
They would have.
They would
easily.
have. Jameis Winston would have led him to the playoffs. I don't think anyone realizes that no matter how much hate that man gets. Yeah, well, you know what I mean. Like the average person doesn't realize how good Jameis actually is at football. And I will die on that hill.
At the start of last season, I said not only will it be a disappointment if the Saints miss the playoffs, I said they should be competing with the Buccaneers for the NFC South crown.
They could have. Dude, their team was insane.
They swept them last year, and they lost like 5 or 6 in a row at the end of the season when they had Simeon
Taysom Hill and Simeon suck. Taysom Hill's not a good quarterback either.
Exactly. That's what I mean. And they were even competitive in some of those games with those quarterbacks playing terribly. But I'd like to say, take it personally from somebody who's had LASIK eye surgery.
Yeah.
Like
really?
You said, yeah, I used to wear goggles. I don't know if you knew that. Everybody else knows that. But yeah, you cannot take for granted how much of a difference that makes, especially on the football field. And it showed last year.
You drafted number 1 overall with that.
It showed last year, like the whole Sean Payton system, sure, also played a big part, but the eyesight as well. But sure, Sean Payton is gone now, but the influence, like the whole coaching staff, still remains, and what he learned from him last year. Winston had a 1.9% interception rate last year, which would have been 11th if he qualified, which is a vast improvement from where he was. He only had three picks in 7 games. He was second in 2020 among quarterbacks with at least 200 plays in EPA per play, behind just Aaron Rodgers. And that was when Marquez Callaway was his best target. Even in 2019, when he had those 30 picks, he was 14th in EPA that year.
The league in yards and touchdowns.
He was in 14th in EPA, which detracts for picks. And he was ahead of Tom Brady in his final year with the Bucs. He was ahead of Jared Goff, Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, Baker Mayfield. Kyler Murray, Josh Allen. He was ahead of all of those while he threw 30 picks. Like, even with all those mistakes, he's still very efficient. And now if he can continue last year with eliminating them.
Well, and he has a big time target back in Michael Thomas. Maybe they'll draft a receiver. I don't know what else that team needs besides a receiver.
They still have sure, it seems like they're in a transition period with Sean Payton on, but they still have a lot of talent. Thomas,
do they still Dennis Allen?
Yeah, he's the head coach.
Oh, he's the head coach now?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm dumb. Huh. Yeah.
They have Marshawn Lattimore. The defense is really good. And with everybody seemingly leaving the NFC, the Saints should be in the wild card mix again.
And they're in a good, easy division.
They should have
Everyone's talking about like, oh, the NFC South is the worst. I mean, sure, but no one's crediting the Saints. Everyone's saying they're a part of the worst. Well, I mean, obviously they are a part of the worst division, but you know what I'm saying? A part of the worst part of the division. They're not. They're clearly the second best team. They could be. No, I'm going to stop myself.
No, let's hear it.
They could, if all things go well, finish first in the division because they could have last year. Who did they lose? Oh, Teron Armstead. Besides that, though, who did they lose?
Nobody notable.
What,
Marcus Williams.
Okay. Safety. Oh, no. Like, I mean, yeah, he's good, but like he's replaceable, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, they should have 4 easy wins off the bat, and we know how well they match up with the Buccaneers.
Perfectly. So Lattimore and Mike Evans is one of my favorite cornerback wide receiver duo matchups to watch because Lattimore just wins it. I love watching good corners. I mean, I'm pretty sure Evans had one good game on him this year.
Yeah, he had like that one long touchdown.
Yeah, okay. One play. I mean, yeah, that happens. Josh Norman locked up Odell in that one game, but then Odell had like one big play and a touchdown later on. That was like a 10-yard touchdown, but that stuff always happens. You can't lock someone down for a literal whole game. Something's going to happen. We've seen it with Revis in that one season before. I didn't watch football then, so I do not know the exact season, but you know what season I'm talking about, where like he held like X receivers under 30 yards.
2009.
I thought it was 9 or 10, but I couldn't remember.
And like even him, like when he was that elite shutdown corner, it was the most random receivers.
Exactly. That's how
Ted
it always
Ginn
works.
Jr., Stevie Johnson, they always had his number, and then he would lock down.
Look, I don't even know who Stevie Johnson is.
He was the guy. He was the Bills receiver who blamed God when he dropped.
Listen, I was 7 years old in 2009. I have no idea who that is.
He mocked Plexico Burress with his touchdown celebration, acting like he shot himself in the leg. He had a "Why So Serious" shirt under his jersey, which he pulled up in the game against the Bengals. He was a character. He was a really good route runner.
Oh, really?
You should look up his highlights.
I will after this then, because like I said, I was too young to even know like half the players then, you know, obviously I know like the Charles Woodsons, the Ed Reeds, the Bradys, the et cetera, but Stevie Johnson, I have no idea. You know, Percy Harvin, he wasn't even there yet. When was he drafted?
2009.
Oh, wow. Sick. Good call, Joe. But
you want to talk about the other quarterback on the opposite end of the Jameis Winston spectrum?
Yeah. Marcus Mariota. I don't know how to feel about him. I only brought this up because they're now in the same division. I love that because they're number 1 and 2. And I was like, oh, Jameis all the way. I wasn't even like a Jameis fan then. Like that just like developed over time, my Jameis fandom. But like in the draft, I was like, oh, I just like Jameis more as a prospect. And I've been right so far, at least. And I don't know how to feel about Mariota. I mean, he's going to the Falcons. He's going to have complete control. No matter what happens, he's going to start all 16.
17.
Dude, I will continue to say 16 or 8-8 or 7-9 until I die, because that's how I've grown up. But he will start all 17 and go 5-12, but maybe even worse. But he might do good individually because we all know he can run. Nah, he has no one to throw to. He's got Pitts, and that's no. I retract my statement. Yeah, I have no faith in Mariota this year.
I was on the complete opposite end of the spectrum in the 2015 draft. I was all in on Mariota, and he was better for the first 2, maybe 3-ish years, but then Winston easily overtook him. But I'm happy. I wanted to see him get a starting role again, just to see what he could do.
I won't lie.
He was really good in Vegas in limited action when he came off the bench for Derek Carr.
One thing I want to point out is that one game that everyone talks about, he played well in moments. He didn't play well overall in that game.
He at least splashed, which a lot of backup quarterbacks don't do. But yeah, it wasn't, I shouldn't say great. It was a good, solid performance.
Enough to get you a job like this, where you're on a bad team and you can start.
And he was their first option. They traded Matt Ryan and signed him within an hour.
Yep.
But I personally wanted him in Pittsburgh a while back instead of Mitchell Trubisky. I would have liked to have seen that because he would have fit the offense a lot with the run pass options and motions and whatnot. But I keep seeing, like you mentioned, Arthur Smith. It's a reunion, which is kind of funny because the only year when Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator there, that's when Mariota got benched because he sucked. But I mean, maybe it'll be different here.
Maybe. But it's just the familiarity thing, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, there's not a lot. He has Kyle Pitts, Cordero Patterson, maybe some rookies, but it's probably not. He might have like the flashy runs and whatnot, but overall, it's not going to be great. So I don't know if I would have preferred him to see him get a starting role in a position that's actually viable for a quarterback. But it'll be a fun division matchup seeing the two of them instead of opposite conferences. So at least we have that going for us.
You know what's funny? Every time I say I want to get into something quick, we spend like 8 minutes on it, but that's neither of our faults nor is it a bad thing. But I was just saying. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to love to watch that. I'm going to specifically watch those games because honestly, I usually just watch Red Zone or the Pats game, whichever one. Like in between commercials, I'll go to Red Zone and all that. But like I might just specifically watch the Saints Falcons games.
And Falcons Saints is like one of the most heated rivalries in the NFL too. So like even just aside from that, like it's going to be a good matchup regardless.
Exactly. And you know, we have the broadcasters who do those games. So we ran a poll on Twitter. Which NFL broadcast duo reigned supreme? The options were ESPN Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, CBS Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, NBC Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth, Amazon Al Michaels and I believe rookie broadcaster.
He's done NFL like here and there, but he's never been like consistent. Season. He's been college.
Well, all right. Well,
Kirk Herbstreit.
Let me pull up the poll. Let me refresh.
I got it right here if you need it.
Okay. All right. Well, we both have it. Our poll with 19 votes, not a lot. We know we have.
I got 22. We got 22 now.
Oh, well. All right. You do it then.
It's good for 6 followers though.
Yeah.
22 votes. So in fourth place with 9.1% of the votes was Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. I kind of predicted they would be last based on a lot of Twitter sentiment. Third place, 13.6% of the votes was Amazon's Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. I kind of get it because we don't really know what we're getting with them.
Yeah.
Third place was NBC's Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth with 27.3% of the votes. And that means with a whopping 50% of the votes, CBS with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo won.
I completely
agree. And I saw what the first vote was for, so I kind of figured that was you.
I thought you voted first.
Well, first vote beside myself.
Oh yeah.
So let's see why you agree with the fans.
So I like Tony Romo. He's gotten some hate before for like, you know, kind of being annoying, which I can see that, but I really like his actual like breakdown of the game because you don't really see that sort of thing. I'm not just talking about the predicting plays. Like that's just an added bonus. That's just kind of cool sometimes. I mean, like anyone who like knows it like he does can do that because it's like, all right, in this situation, what would blank run right now, you know?
Especially a recently retired player.
Exactly. Yeah. But I still think it's cool. You know, I still think that adds for the casual fan. Cause you got to think about this from a casual fan's perspective because it's what they hear. Like us, we're just watching the game, trying to like see some stuff, get some ideas for like a video or a podcast, stuff like that. But we also want to enjoy it. I think they bring the most entertainment value. I mean, Jim Nantz always has done his thing. I like Jim Nantz as a personality. I just think the two will go well together.
Yeah, I think what you said about casual fans is great for Romo because he's just so excited himself all the time.
He brings all the energy.
It helps a fan get excited if they see the announcers excited, which is a reason a lot of people say they don't like Joe Buck because he's very strict and boring. But Romo, even like you said, without the predicting plays, which a lot of people have gotten over, just his analysis is always very good as well. Even if he's wrong about what's going to happen, his analysis is spot on.
Like,
I don't care. I just don't care about the result, just the process.
No, exactly. So, I just think, I really just think he's entertaining. Like, that's all. I think he's built for this, basically.
Yeah, that was my second choice for the poll, but I actually went with Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth.
Which I don't blame you for.
Yeah, I always loved, I think NBC has the best production value, and I love the pairing of Al Michaels and Collinsworth. I will agree with that. Mm-hmm. It's sad to see them split up and Al Michaels go to Amazon, but Mike Tirico, they signed him like 5 or so years ago, and he's just been sitting on the bench waiting for Al Michaels to retire, which he still hasn't done. But he was always good on Monday Night Football, despite his off-field issues. Let's not get into that. You can look that up if you want. But Collinsworth has always been the butt of the joke. People don't like
now
him.
Here's a guy.
People don't like that he says that, but I've always been a fan, and no, this is definitely not me trying to put myself in PFF's good graces for a job opportunity, but I've just always loved, he's one of the more insightful analysts, and a lot of the players love him too. So like he gets a lot of tidbits from them as well. He has his own podcast even, which is great.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, it's with PFF. He used to run it with Richard Sherman, but now it's just a solo pod. But yeah, I love the NBC crew.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't go wrong with either of those two. You definitely can go wrong with ESPN. Amazon, we'll have to see. But I mean, obviously, Al Michaels is great. But I don't know much about Kirk Herbstreit. But
he's great on college, at least.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I honestly don't really watch college football like that. That's why you never really see me making videos about the draft or anything like that. Because I like to just learn about it during the process. I don't like watch college football and be like, oh, I know. I mean, obviously, I know like Aiden Hutchinson's going to be good, but like I couldn't tell you like what exact traits are good about his. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I just don't care for college football. But whatever. That was really off topic. You talked about college, but no, I just think those two are the clear choices. And I think that's all we got for NFL today. So let's just start off with the NBA. I mean, we've seen the Celtics keep doing well. Timberwolves fumbled last night. We're recording this on Thursday, the 24th. Fumbled last night against the Suns after they had a lead. Some other games last night that I don't really care about, but there's one team that you brought up on Twitter, I believe, right?
I did. And you made a mental note of it.
And I want you to talk about it.
So
do you have the exact tweet?
Yeah, let me find it. Where did I say this?
Oh, I'm waiting. I am waiting. It's not even that like I disagree a ton. It's just I love this topic.
I was just asking a question. I thought it was interesting. Like I don't have a take on it. I said, at this point, are the Warriors more likely to lose in the first round than make the conference finals?
And I read that and I immediately knew I had to put that in our notes for this week. I have to stop moving for the light. It's really bothering me now. And I'm sorry. I need to figure this out. Whatever. Production. I'm an intern with a production company. I should know. I should just be better at this. But I don't think they're more likely to lose in the first round. Because let me look at who they're playing. I'm just pulling up the standings
right now. The matchup would be with the Nuggets. 3 versus 6.
They could lose in the first round. Now that you say that, because aren't the Nuggets going to be fully healthy by the playoffs? Aren't they like purposely saving Jamal Murray to come back for the playoffs or something like that? And Michael Porter, so. Like they could be back right now, but they're just like no. I could be wrong. Like I said, I'm more of an NFL guy, but I love the NBA as well. But
even I tweeted this last night. The best winning percentage since January 23rd, excuse the random cutoff. I was trying to make the Celtics look good. But since that mark, the Nuggets have the 5th best record in the NBA. So even with the injuries, they've been thriving.
They've been insane.
And the Warriors, since the middle of February, they have gone 7-11.
Well, you also think about though
they've had injuries, but yeah, I mean he just got hurt 4 games ago.
Yeah,
I mean Draymond was out, but
Draymond was out. They've had key players missing the whole time.
Injuries are a big part though. Like we don't know how healthy they're going to
be for the playoffs.
Yeah, and like I said, I didn't really have a take either way when I tweeted this. I was just like, I don't know which way because I could see them losing to the Nuggets or say the Mavericks if they fell. Maybe the Timberwolves if they jumped up. But if the Warriors are all healthy, I'm going to take them and their experience.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Right up there with the Suns.
Yeah, so I read that. I didn't know if you were saying that because, like, obviously you asked a question, but I didn't know if that's what you were saying as well. But I just thought it was really interesting because it could happen. Steph won't be fully healthy for sure. Draymond might not even be. He's been getting limited minutes. He played like his season average like his last game, but like before that, he was getting more limited minutes than he usually did. I don't know if they'll be fully healthy. Plus, you have the whole Clay thing. I mean, I think he's fully healthy.
He's still a little rusty.
Yeah, that exactly. So I could definitely see them losing the Nuggets because you have Jokic and Jokic.
And the Joker. Don't forget the Joker.
Yeah, and that big is he Serbian? Serbian guy, the fat unathletic white guy. They have Nikola Jokic basically. It's all you need to know. So it definitely could happen.
But at least that they, even without Curry, Clay, and Draymond, they beat Miami on the road by double digits last night. So at least they have some bench players who can step up when it matters. He had like 30 points last night.
Yeah, 7 threes.
But speaking of Miami, like, what do we think of the Eastern Conference standings right now?
Let me pull I want to pull up the exact numbers real quick. All right. So
Miami's lost 2 in a row right now, and they're only a game and a half up on both the 76ers, the Bucks, and the Celtics. in second through fourth place.
I couldn't give you a prediction for the standings because anything could happen. It's when it's that close, you don't know what to expect. I think there's going to be at least 50 win teams, or it's going to be only 4, most likely. Most likely only 50 win teams in the East, because I think it's obvious the Celtics, Bucks, 76ers, and Heat are all going to win 40 games.
50.
Why do I keep doing that? 50. It's because I'm looking at the standings and it says 40.
Right.
Yeah, whatever. So they're all going to win 50 games. But it really depends on. I don't even know what it depends on. It really just depends on how the last 10 games go. That's it. There's no statistics backing this up. There's no analytics backing my point up right now. I don't know who's going to get the 1 seed, but this is a cluster, because then you have 5 Chicago. I don't think they're going to move up from 5. You have Cleveland 6. I can only see them going down potentially. I could see Chicago. They've been kind of bad recently. And then the play-in, I think it's going to play out exactly how it is right now. 7 Toronto, 8 Brooklyn, maybe flip them, but I don't think Charlotte or Atlanta are going to make it in.
Right.
But now that Brooklyn's healthy, they have Kyrie back for the whole thing. I mean, I guess he could do what he wants, but he faced the consequences, and now he's back to playing full time. So that's great for them going into the playoffs. I mean, say what you want about the vaccine. I'm not going to comment on that because I don't want to bring anything like that into this right now. I think Brooklyn will be the 7th seed, and I think Toronto will be the 8th seed. 1 through 4, whatever.
If it stays the same right now, that would mean we get 76ers Nets in the first round, which I'm sure everybody would be very intrigued to watch.
All right, I got to not do that. I got to react to this just sitting still. You guys won't get my full personality right now. So that's insane. That'll be a great first matchup. Or what if Milwaukee?
Rematch of last year.
The light. Sorry. I just saw it again right there. I got to not do that next time. But yeah, rematch of last year in the first round.
Second round. Or it was in the second round last year. I see what you're.
I meant this year. Yeah. That would be. That's 7. That's going to 7.
As we're both Celtics fans, they won 23 of their last 27 games. They're 9-1 in the last 10. It is that, I know exactly. But so they're only 1 loss behind both Philly and Milwaukee in the standings for number 2, which I know we both probably definitely do not want to see, because we don't want to see Kyrie and KD in the first round.
Yeah.
Like last year, just the seeds flipped. That would be disastrous. I mean, the Celtics would probably win, but even if they would win, they'd be
dead.
A very tough series. Like I think we mentioned this before we recorded, like Toronto series 2 years ago. They beat them in 7, but it destroyed them so that when they played the Heat, they were all out of gas.
Yeah.
I would rather face Chicago, Cleveland, or Toronto.
Win in 5 or 6. I don't think whoever we play first round will sweep, personally, because I think the East playoffs is really competitive this year. It's the most competitive we've seen it. We've all seen the West just be like, oh, we're the West. We're always better. We're actually competitive. And then the East is like, oh, I'm 39-42. Would that be the record? 39-43.
Yeah, 43.
And I'm in the playoffs. It's like, no. The East is actually competitive this year.
2015, the Suns missed the playoffs. Or 2014, the Suns missed the playoffs when they won 48 games. Meanwhile, the Hawks made the playoffs while they won 38, I believe, something like that.
I forgot about that. I knew that stat too. Wow.
That was the
exactly
Dragic and Eric Bledsoe Suns.
Isaiah? Or was that when
they signed him the next year?
Oh, next. He was still in the Kings?
Yeah.
Okay. But dude, that's crazy to me that even happens. And I think, what team do you think is going to go the farthest in the East? That was not the finals, but what teams do you think will play in the Eastern Conference Finals? Let me reword that.
I think the Bucks are
locks.
I've long since had them as until I see them lose, I'm not going to discount them at this point. And like, I really am trying not to get my hopes up with the Celtics
I'm saying the
team,
Celtics.
but they keep dominating great teams like on
Jazz.
the road and not even did they just beat the Jazz by like 20 points last night.
Yeah,
Like,
we might have lost to the Pistons like a month ago, but we won't talk about that.
I can't not pick them at this point with how they're playing. And right now they're the 3 and the 4, so they could theoretically meet in the conference finals.
Yeah, we beat Memphis by 13. Is that 13? I have a crack in my phone screen. We beat Memphis by 13, Brooklyn by 6, Charlotte by 14. We lost to Dallas obviously by 3. We beat Golden State by 22. Is that math? Yeah. Denver by 20, Utah by an absurd amount. I don't want to do the math right now. Okay.
Math, not a math major, I take it.
I actually used to be really good at math, but now I'm a sport leadership and administration major where we don't have to do that. We beat Philly in February, 135 to 87. I don't have my glasses on either. I have a lot of handicaps right now. Again, Brooklyn by 35. I don't know who played that game, if Kyrie, Katie, or whoever didn't, but
right.
I'm just saying. I think there's no way we don't at least make it to the second round. Knock on wood, conference finals. But yeah, that's really all I got for the Eastern standings. I don't know about you. Do you have anything else to say?
No, I think we hit on all the topics. It's really just a matter of waiting until the playoffs to see how it all shakes out so we can see what the matchups actually are. But it'll be really interesting race down the stretch.
Oh, I'm excited for the NBA playoffs. And as we go over our time again, 100%, we'd like to thank you guys for tuning in to the JM Touchdown Show.
Actually, don't forget, I have one more thing.
Oh, you do?
I have a trivia question of the day for you.
Oh my, I always forget the stat of the day. Yep, I'm listening.
All right. So there are 5 active quarterbacks who have finished a season with a yards per attempt mark of 9.0 or greater with at least 200 attempts in that specific season. Who are they?
Rodgers.
Correct.
Brady.
No.
That makes sense. Russ 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
5 active.
Yes.
And
well, one of them's kind of tricky. He's a free agent.
Okay, I'll figure that out in a sec. With a minimum passing attempts, right?
Of 200.
200.
Yes.
Jameis.
Nope.
I just thought so from that 1 year. All right, let me think here. Josh Allen, maybe. Mahomes.
No.
Alex Smith. He's
retired,
not active,
isn't he? And
yeah, he retired. I didn't know if he was going to be the free agent.
Same team though. Same team as the free agent.
Ryan Fitzpatrick?
In 2018 with the Bucks, when he started half the season with Winston, he had 9.6 yards per attempt. That's actually the highest. He had 246 attempts.
Wow.
Remember, that was the year that he started out with that huge game in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah. All right.
3 more.
So, not Mahomes?
Mm-mm. One of them has won an MVP.
Matt Ryan.
Correct. That's the one that got me to look up this stat. Remember, I said it was going to be relevant to a news topic.
All right, so two more. Let me think. Don't give any hints right now. Let's think of each division. AFC South. No. Watson?
No.
Not Tannehill. Definitely not. No, there's no way it's Ryan Tannehill. Is that the fourth one?
Is that a guess?
Yeah.
It's Ryan Tannehill. 9.6 in 2019.
Wait, do I have one more person to get?
Yeah, one more. Ryan Tannehill.
What?
In his first year with the Titans. Remember, I said he was one of the most efficient quarterbacks in NFL history. 9.6 yards per attempt. One more.
AFC East, no. AFC West, Carr.
Mm-hmm.
Not Herbert. Definitely not. I think he's in like the 7s. Not Russ. We already went over that. AFC North. Hell no. No. NFC North. I already got Rodgers. Yo, bro, it's definitely someone. Wait, is this the free agent?
No, the free agent was Fitzpatrick. But
Oh,
this one,
yeah, I
this one
forgot.
is also kind of tricky.
It's a backup, isn't it? Current backup. Is it Andy Dalton?
No,
That was a random guess.
he's also a free agent, though, by the way.
He is?
Otherwise, I probably would have.
Whatever. It's
included
Andy
him on
Dalton.
the
I don't
list.
care about his contract, but I'm going to finish this. All right, I'm getting this. So this guy's currently on a team, though, backup.
Yes.
It's definitely not Jordan Love.
Mm-mm.
And doesn't
He
pass
started
downs.
one game.
Yeah, I know. Let's think of NFC West. Let's think. Who are the backups in the NFC West?
Sure, listeners are screaming at you right now.
Am I being dumb? Like, is this
No.
idiotic right now?
No. You did. Would you like a hint?
Yes.
You mentioned Andy Dalton. What team did he play for last year?
The Bears. No way. Wait. Nick Foles?
Nick Foles in 2013 with the Eagles.
Oh, when he threw like
9.1,
27 touchdowns.
27-2.
All right. How many kick returns did it take the Saints to get their first kickoff return touchdown?
I don't know. 1.
Yep. In franchise history, their first one they took back. The Bucks, it's like 1,800 something, but
Didn't they get it in like 2007? Was that Michael Spurlock?
sure. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Every time we do the stat of the day, I will always forget about it by accident and do terribly on it. Whoa. That was kind of
That
cool.
was
You see
cool.
that with the light? Whatever. I will do terribly on it every time because it'll take me 9 years to figure it out. Now, were these that difficult in retrospect?
That's what makes it fun.
Yeah. So we're going to call an episode there. We definitely went over our time that we say before. Last time it was 30. This time it was 45. We're probably about an hour 15 right now. So thank you guys for tuning in. This is Joe Shea of Fanatics Sports, joined by the wonderful Mike Kennedy of MikeKennedyNFL. I don't mean to talk for you.
Mhm.
Sorry.
I'm just a mute over here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're just in there like, for our audio listeners, I'm dead silent right now, just staring into my camera. Whatever. Well, thank
Showing
you guys
his
for
light
tuning in.
every time.
This is Joe and joined by
This is Mike,
you guys. Have a wonderful whatever time of day it is. Thank you.
and we'll see you next week.